All right, we're back out working on the Earthship. We've been working over the last week or two getting these overhangs in front of the east and west door. So we started out, we got the footers poured on both sides, and then we have these 8x8 timbers. So we've got two posts on each side with the beam going across, and then we have these. They're semi-sloped, but they're flat roofs on either side. In a future video, we'll get those covered in EPDM and rock, starting tomorrow, which will probably be the next video. We're going to go ahead and get the siding done, all the trim around the windows, and start to really finish out the front. But on this video I didn't get everything filmed, but I'll go ahead and show the footage I got from these front overhangs. Alright, it's probably been 6 or 7 months since I've been out working on the Earthship, but Heidi and I are out here now and we're working on getting these overhangs for the entryways built. To start off, we're just pouring some footers for the post to sit on. I'm trying to save on concrete a little bit, so you can see I've got these tires with sidewall cut off, tamped in with rock, and then we're going to pour some concrete on top of that to get it up to grade. So as of now, the plan is we're going to have these 2 footers poured. I'll kind of go over what my thought process was on those footers, but we'll get those poured, and then we'll have 2 posts with a beam going across, and then we'll have a flat roof cantilevering over that beam. I'm going to do an EPDM roof, I think, with some river rock on top. So these half-cut tires with the rock in it, this is my way to save some concrete. To get a truck out here, it's a minimum of 5 yards, which is like $700–800. I don't want to spend that money, nor do I want to sit and mix a bunch of bags just to fill sonotubes or whatever. So this is what I came up with, sort of like a rubble trench foundation, the half-cut tire buried, that's about 8 inches tall. And then we're going to pour sort of a grade beam on top. That's going to be 10 inches tall with concrete inside. You can see the rebar, and I got some remesh left over from the concrete floor. Alright, so we got the west side footers poured. We're over on the east side right now getting those forms put in and leveled with the rebar. I'll go over there and show you. But I just wanted to mention, so we've shot the finished floor elevation, and then these are about 6 feet off the building. So we sloped it 1/4 inch a foot. So these are roughly around 1.5 inches lower than the finished floor. The dirt's a little lower than that because we're going to have flagstone over all this. But that'll be for a future video probably. So as you can see, made little boxes out of 2x10 for the concrete forms. We'll get those rebar, probably put 2 3-foot pieces pounded into the ground, sticking up, and then I kind of bent a piece around and had a piece of scrap mesh. So we'll get that in there. We'll shoot it with the transit level, get it to the right elevation, and then be time to mix some concrete. You can see we've got these forms. We just attached some 2x with 4 concrete stakes, and then just got some scrap rebar, 2 verticals pounded in 3 feet, and then a piece bent around with some mesh on there. And same thing on this side. You can see it's all just scrap pieces. Alright, so it's been about a week or so since I poured these concrete footers. They're good and hard enough for us to get started on this little roof overhang. I'm using these big timbers. I think these are 8x8s. It was actually an 8x16 that we cut in half. So this roof is going to be flat, but not technically perfectly flat. It is going to be sloped away from the building a little bit. We're just going to have a 1-inch slope over the 6 feet off the building. So I went ahead and drew a line above that door trim. It's going to be high enough that we can still put tongue and groove ceiling underneath the framing of this roof when we're finished. So we're just using the transit level, shooting the elevation. So we measured down from the top of that and then measured up from these 2 footers, shooting that with the transit level, and then we added those two numbers together. So sort of the distance from the top to the transit level, and then the distance up from the footer to the transit level. So that gives us the height of our beams. The height of the post. The beam is going to be 9 inches tall. So that measurement that we got there, we're subtracting the height of the beam, and that gives us the height of the post. So we measured those. Luckily our footers are only a 1/16 off of elevation from each other, which is pretty close. So we're gonna go ahead and just cut these at the same, it's a 1/16 different, and then we'll get this put together. So as you can see, that beam saw got pretty much all the way through. You can see this little square in the middle. That's how shy it was all the way around, but that part's easy to break off. You can also use a smaller circ saw and you'll have a bigger square, and then you can just cut through with the Sawzall. This cut's going to be covered. The beam will be sitting on top of this, so not too worried about how it looks. So in order to attach these posts to our little footers, we went ahead and made these just some 4x4 angle iron, drilled a couple holes in. So the one going into the concrete, we're going to use these anchor bolts. So I poured these footers 16 by 16. It's an 8-inch beam, so it's just under 8. So we'll have a 4-inch bracket, the 8-inch beam, and then another 4-inch bracket, and that should be pretty nice. We'll do one on each side for both posts. All right, so we got the two posts set in place. They're not anchored in yet. We just did some bracing. We did one on the bottom and one a little above midway, just to make sure they're parallel, so they're the same distance between the top and bottom. And then we have these braces on the 3 sides just to plumb them up both ways. So they're both parallel, they're both plumb. We're gonna go ahead and get these brackets bolted into the concrete, and then we'll be good to set the beam going across. Also wanted to mention, the way we got them plumb was we just threw a level on them and then used concrete stakes and just either pushed or pulled whichever way it needed to go, and then shot a screw through the concrete stake just to hold it where it needs to be. So we also wanted to make sure that they were spaced off the building the same, so they're parallel to the building. So we've got this board going across, and then we're just measuring back to this wall and making sure from one side to the other they're the same distance off the wall. All right, so I didn't film very much, but we got that beam up there. It's just temporarily tacked in with 12-inch structural screws. We've also got it bolted through. We weren't able to use those lags just because they would have ended up hitting each other in the middle. They were too long. So this side we actually used all thread running all the way through with just a washer and a nut on it. And then over here we had a long enough bolt to get all the way through. We also used a rotor hammer, drilled out the holes for the concrete, and then put those concrete anchor bolts in. So these things are solid. They're all plumb, ready to go. Also got these little angle brackets. These angle brackets will just fit right up there like that, and we'll lag 2 into the post and 2 up into the beam, and that'll keep that secure. I think that'll look pretty nice. So it'll probably have to wait till tomorrow, but I'm just getting some rafters prepped. Like I said, from the wall to the inside of the post is 6 feet. We're gonna do an 8-foot roof, so it'll cantilever over just over a foot. Also, we ended up putting this beam up while it was raining, so we were kind of in a rush, and our measurements that we took, we were gonna have this little 4-inch overhang, but I think it's actually gonna be closer to flush with the outside of the beam. We're trying to line up that back wall there so that we can continue that siding coming straight off of that wall and wrap it around on that cantilevered roof. All right, I didn't film the entire process here, but we're over on the east side. We did the same thing over on the west side. We got those posts and beams up, and then we just framed it with 2x8. We've got the ledger board attached above the door with a big enough gap so that we can put a ceiling on this eventually. We've just got anchor bolts into the studs with a couple structural screws, and then joist hangers and some Simpson ties just to hold it all together. Also added these 90-degree brackets just with the same lag bolts in there, keeping this thing pretty strong. On top of this beam, we also added some little Simpson ties. So we ended up doing the west side first. This is the east side, but we kind of learned over there. We used 1/2-inch ply. Over here I had some 1-inch subfloor, tongue and groove stuff. This worked way better. The other side's a little spongy. This side's way stronger. The finish is going to be EPDM. We'll wrap up the wall and wrap up and over these 2x. There will be a drain over in the corner for the water to get out. Once we get the EPDM all on, we get the drain in. There'll also be smooth river rock, some leftover stuff that I had from the planter. We'll just do like a single layer of river rock just to kind of protect and cover up that EPDM and just make it look a little better, if you can see it up here. So here's the view from the front. You can see both sides. They're a little different. I was just kind of using what I had. The beams on the west side are just slightly bigger than the beams on the east side, but I don't really think you can tell too much. Probably going to leave the video here. Next steps are going to be getting the siding on these. These are going to have the matching corrugated metal, just like up there. So that'll wrap around. These beams are going to get stained. I've also got all the cedar trim for around all these windows. So we'll get all that trim stained, put up, and then we're going to wrap the corrugated around all the painted plywood spots. It'll all be corrugated metal. So yeah, this corrugated is just going to continue on and wrap around there. That gray plywood up top is also going to get corrugated coming down with the EPDM wrapped up behind it. So it should be all watertight. Kind of where the ladder is now, there'll be a drain. I'm going to do a kind of DIY drain. They do make EPDM roof drains, but they're kind of expensive and hard to source locally. So stay tuned for that, and that'll probably be in the next video with the EPDM and the drain and everything.